There's a moment in every woman's life when she stares at her phone, fingers hovering over the keyboard, debating whether to send that one last text. Maybe it's to check if he's okay. Maybe it's to remind him that you still care. Maybe it's just to break the silence because the quiet is eating you alive. But here's the truth. Most people won't tell you. The moment you decide not to send that text is the moment you take back your power. Because texting him again feels harmless in the moment, but it often sets off a chain of consequences you didn't intend. And what you're about to realize is that silence, your silence, is more powerful than any words you could ever send. When you stop texting him, you're not just withholding words, you're creating space. And space is where truth shows up. Men often take a woman's presence for granted when she's always available. A quick reply here, a double text there. It signals consistency, but it also signals predictability. And predictability for many men dulls the spark. But silence disrupts that pattern. It makes him notice the absence of what he once expected. It forces him to ask himself questions he may have been avoiding. Why hasn't she reached out? Did she finally get tired of me? Is she moving on? Those questions are uncomfortable, but they're necessary. Because if a man truly cares, those questions don't just pass through his mind, they linger, they weigh on him. Let's be honest. You want to text him because it feels like control. When you press send, you feel like you've done something to bridge the gap. You've broken the silence, soothed the tension, and reminded him of your presence. But control is an illusion. Every time you text first, you're reinforcing the idea that it's your job to keep the connection alive. You're teaching him that he doesn't need to put in effort, because you'll always be the one to close the distance. And here's the dangerous part. Over time, this teaches him to value you less. Not because you're not valuable, but because humans tend to underestimate what's too easily available. That's why not texting him isn't just a choice. It's a statement, a boundary, a subtle way of saying, if you want me, you'll have to show up. I'm no longer going to carry this alone. Psychologists call it the scarcity principle. The less available something is, the more desirable it becomes. When you're always the one initiating, your presence feels abundant. He doesn't have to work for it. He doesn't have to earn it. But when you withdraw, when your name doesn't light up his phone, suddenly, that abundance becomes scarcity. And scarcity creates value. It's not about playing games. It's about restoring balance. Because love, connection, and respect cannot survive when one person is giving everything and the other is giving nothing. At first, he may not notice. He may even assume you're just busy. But as time stretches on, his mind begins to wander. Day 1, he feels relief. Silence means no pressure. Day 3, curiosity sets in. He wonders why you're so quiet. Day 7, unease creeps in. What if she's really done with me? By day 10, he's replaying your last conversations, searching for clues and feeling the weight of your absence. And here's where it gets powerful. If his feelings for you are real, that silence will eat at him until he breaks it himself. He'll text, he'll call, he'll find an excuse to reach out, because men don't let go of women they value without a fight. But if he doesn't reach out, that silence gave you your answer. It showed you, without you wasting another ounce of effort, exactly how much he was willing to invest. You've probably seen it before. The more you chase, the faster they run. It's not because you're not enough. It's because desperation repels. When you keep texting, calling, and pushing for attention, you flip the dynamic. Instead of being the prize, you become the pursuer. And the more you pursue, the less attractive you appear. But when you step back, when you stop texting, suddenly you reclaim the role of the prize. You remind him that access to you is not guaranteed. And that's when men remember what they're at risk of losing. I know. It hurts. The silence feels heavy. It feels like punishment, even though it isn't. You'll question yourself. You'll think, maybe if I just send one more message, he'll finally understand how much I care. But here's the truth. Love doesn't need reminders. Respect doesn't need chasing. A man who values you doesn't need to be begged to treat you right. Every second you resist the urge to text, you're proving something far bigger than your patience. You're proving that you can choose yourself, even when it hurts. You're proving that you're strong enough to walk away if necessary. And paradoxically, that strength is what draws people back. Because confidence, quiet, unshakable confidence, is magnetic. This is the fear that grips you, isn't it? That if you don't text him, you'll lose him forever. That your silence will be the reason it ends. But let me ask you, if silence is enough to end it, was it ever real to begin with? Relationships worth keeping survive silence. They survive distance. They survive the pauses and the quiet spells because both people are invested enough to bridge the gap. So if he disappears simply because you stopped texting, that's not a loss. That's clarity. That's freedom. That's the universe removing someone who was never going to give you what you deserve. When you stop texting him, don't just sit by the phone waiting. Use that space to reconnect with yourself. Dive into the hobbies you've neglected. Spend time with people who make you feel appreciated. Invest in your own growth, your own happiness, your own peace. Because the more fulfilled you become on your own, the less desperate you'll feel for his attention. And ironically, that's exactly when men tend to come back. When they see you glowing, happy, and whole without them. Not texting him isn't about manipulation. It's not about playing games. It's about alignment. It's about refusing to give your energy to someone who isn't giving it back. It's about protecting your heart until someone shows up who knows how to handle it with care. So the next time you feel the urge to text him, pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself, your silence speaks volumes. It says, I know my worth, and I refuse to settle for less. Because sometimes, the most powerful message is the one you never send. So trust yourself enough to stay silent. Because the right man won't need a text to remember your value. He'll prove it with his actions.